Hey Internet, today I'm going to be showing you this bike. It's a Honda Cb500x from 2014. Barely has any miles on it, and it's a really good beginner's bike. This makes a great commuting bike. Very cool styling, it's very Euro. It's a two-cylinder, parallel twin two-cylinder. So up front we have a 17-inch tire. So this very much feels like a supermoto right off the bat. It's got a very large diameter single rotor up front. And you would think, oh, it's just a single rotor. So do I have enough stopping power? It has plenty of stopping power. It really is a very good front brake. I really like the brakes on this bike. There's no issue at all with braking. A lot of times people wonder, why should I get like a naked bike like this with the engine like completely exposed? It is so much easier for maintenance. Like with bikes that have plastic, much harder to do maintenance on. The engine compartment, you have a parallel twin, which is the same sort of engine that you see on a Ninja 250, Ninja 300, CBR 300. It's a very popular engine, mainly because parallel twins are very cheap to manufacture, and a lot of manufacturers are putting it in bikes. The bike does have a little bit of a flaw, is that the exhaust tone is very wimpy. It's a typical parallel twin engine, which is not a very good sounding engine, but you can get over that because it gets such good gas mileage that it doesn't really matter. Windscreen's very clever because it's got two bolts here that you loosen up. You don't have to remove, and then you can position the windscreen down or up. Very clever design, and this is stock. So I'm glad that Honda started doing this, because a lot of people who are going to be getting this bike are motorcycle commuters, and they prefer like the windscreen to be in the top mount. If you look at the BMW 310, they're upside down, which gives it a little bit of an edge. It's not that it's bad, it's just a very different style, and I think a lot of manufacturers are going with the upside down forks these days, but this uses conventional forks. This beak, that's pretty cool looking. The upright seating position is very much what you would use for commuting. It's perfect. A lot of people don't realize, but having an upright seating position makes it much better for commuting than a sport bike position. You can see it's very quiet, and it's got the typical two-cylinder thing. It's fuel injected as well. Still sounds brand new. The one thing that people do with this bike, because it's so much lighter than the Africa Twin, they get a Rally Raid kit that basically gives you like a 21-inch front wheel, better suspension, and basically makes this competitive with the Africa Twin, but having much less weight. And of course, it gives you the ground clearance. And it is a little bit taller, but as soon as you sit, it sinks down. And it is just very, very simple, like not complex like modern bikes are these days. One thing that's annoying too is that the horn is located here and the turn signals are at the bottom. What tends to happen, most of the Japanese bikes have this flipped, so usually the turn signals are up here and the horn is down here, but I don't know why they decided to put this here, and it's so large too. But it's nice that it mirrors each other. That's a good styling thing, I guess. One thing I don't like, on these roads it's fine, but suspension is not great. It's raining. If you look just down the street, it looks like it's raining really hard. And yeah, it's coming here. It's so funny. I saw it down the street, and The CB500 really handles really well, and I think the upright seating position just lets you see things much better than any sport bike. It does have its flaws, and I think the flaws are based on the budget of the bike. The suspension is not great on it, but I believe you can adjust it so it's a little bit better. I think the best thing about it, really, it uses 17-inch wheels, so it's easy to get rubber, and it's so easy to commute on. And of course, it's hard to go wrong with a bike that costs $6,000 brand new. For commuting, that gets like 60 miles to the gallon. That's right, I get 60 miles to the gallon, and you can do even better. On the twisties, it really does really well, especially in like low speed cornering. You're not going to be able to keep up with super sport bikes in sweepers, but this bike does have plenty of power for most riders. If you're going like at average speeds, this bike will definitely be faster than 95% of cars out there. It's very flickable, and it's got very low weight. It doesn't weigh very much. Having wide angle bars basically lets you throw this bike around extremely easily. And with a sport bike as a beginner bike, you have clip-ons that are very like low, so you have to crouch. This, you sit very upright, like you have a commanding presence of the road. So this thing barely weighs 390 pounds dry. That's really, really incredible. The power to weight ratio is something like 0.26. The seat height is surprisingly low, so if you're a shorter rider, it seems to be okay. It's 31.9 inches, and when you sit on it, it goes down even more. So I'm 5'9", and I can definitely flat foot this thing. This bike makes a great beginner bike, and it's an affordable bike, which is very rare these days to have. That's the review of the Cb500x. I hope you liked it. I think this bike is an excellent commuter bike and beginner bike. So if you're in the market for a bike like this, you should definitely consider this. It's very inexpensive, especially in the used market, and I believe it's a better buy than the BMW 310 and the KTM.